Kal Halaya Basham Yarashai, double honors to the elders and apostles of James who were well. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Um, I just wanted to bring this out because I was looking into Freaknik, and I was watching this brother called the Business TBA, the Black Authority. He's a bit carnal, but I like to listen to him when I'm out and about on my rounds, and I don't really wanna. You gotta use wisdom when you're out here. You don't really want people to be hearing you listening to certain videos. But I've been listening to him as a certain podcast, and he brought this out, and I thought it was an interesting topic to delve a little bit more into in depth. It says only half of Gen Z exclusively attracted to opposite sex according to new study. So they're saying about 50% of Generation Z, which Z is the last letter of the alphabet, because this has to be the last generation, because after this, it just be continual wickedness, which is why the Lord said, if he had not returned, there'd be no flesh left to be saved. Because Esau will basically just have a whole society of freaks, and these people wouldn't want to reproduce themselves. They want to be scissor sisters and bum bandits, so to speak, and you can't reproduce yourself when you're with the same sex effectively. So that's another reason why the Lord said if I wouldn't come back there would be no flesh saved, because Esau basically turned everybody into a friggin' reprobate. I don't know what that is. Hang on. Yeah, it says only half of Generation Z say they are exclusively attracted to people of the opposite sex, according to a new study. Polling undertaken by LGBTQ charity Stonewall and Ipsos reveals stark generational differences when it comes to sexual attraction, with 2 in 5, 40% of Generation Z respondents are identifying same-sex attraction. So that's 40%. So what, 4 out of 10? While 53%, just over half, report being exclusively attracted to people of the opposite sex. So it just shows you about half the people are somewhat in their right mind. We can't say completely, because they're not following after the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So you'll never be in your right mind if you're not following the laws and the commandments of the scriptures. This compares with over 3/4, 77% of baby boomers who say they're exclusively attracted to people of the opposite sex. So the baby boomers, well, let's get that. Baby boomer generation. Let's see what I think is what generation would that be? The baby boomers are 1946 to 1964. Let me get the scripture before I go on, because this perfectly illustrates as to why these Generation Zers are like this. I'm not gonna read all of it. I'm just gonna read 20 Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart. So effectively, these children are being raised to be reprobates. And I've been around Jakes, who are raising children, who have their children around them. I know this one Jake. I'm not gonna go into certain things, but I know this one Jake, and he said he's not raising his child to be a boy or a girl. He's raising him to be a person or something like that. And I was like, what the hell? And I remember saying this, and everybody was like, well, he's a boisterous boy anyway, so he's gonna be a boy. But I was like, but why would you just not train him up to be a boy? Why would you say you're not training him to identify with any or gender? And it's like, just even saying that is bugged out, because you go into the little boy's room, he had he had toy guns and so on and so forth. If you really felt that way, you would have been putting dresses on him. So it was like, it's like you're saying that, but you a part of it's wrong. So that's how Jake is. And it's like the people of the world, they got this weird spirit on them, where they feel like if you raise your child to be a boy or a girl in their definitive sex, it means that you're you're discriminatory or something, because that's the kind of spirit that Esau's put out there. It's like you have to be accepting of everybody, and it's utter bullcrap, because what they're doing is they're literally putting demons, on these generations, on these children, because there should, in no way, shape, or form should you have one generation 77% identify as one way, and then the next generation is 50%. Can you imagine what that, if there was a generation after this, what they would identify as? So this is why this man has to get out of the way, man, because he's a reprobate, effectively. He's a degenerate reprobate. The groundbreaking report reveals that more Generation Z identify as bisexual or pansexual, and pansexual effectively means you'll have sex with anything. If there's a hole, you're gonna put whatever in there, whatever of your orifices, not orifices, because orifices is a hole, so you effectively you're gonna put your tongue, finger, and whatever else you have in there, and the pansexual effectively means you'll go as far as, having sex with a Snoopy, for lack of a better term, or pansexual 14%. Then that word, a mo, flaming mo. So groundbreaking report reveals that more Gen Z people identify as bisexual or pansexual 14%, then gay 2%, or lesbian 3%. Across all age ranges, however, only 2/3, 66%, describe themselves as being exclusively attracted to the opposite sex, and data shows that 2% of Britons identify as asexual or ace, which means that they're not attracted to anybody, which is just going off, because the Lord put man on earth to reproduce, and now you're sitting there saying, I'm not attracted to anybody, I just want to be by myself. This is the spirit. The Lord said, be fruitful and multiply, but Esau's put the whole world in a situation where you don't even want to multiply, because it's actually, it's grievous to have children. You got kids, you can't see your kids. Esau and his court system. Now you gotta go out, you gotta work 2 jobs to look after your children. You can't have any joy of your children in society. So a lot of people are quite rightly coming to the conclusion that they shouldn't even have children. To be honest, a part of me doesn't even blame them, but the other stuff, you gotta kind of miss me with that. Which means that they do not experience sexual attraction, although they may still be romantically attracted, and which is a saposexual, which means you're attracted to the intellect of another person. The data, which reveals younger generations as being significantly more sexually diverse than their predecessors, was taken from 3 unique surveys consisting of more than 6,000 Britons. I'm not gonna go into any more than that. It's official. Gen Z is extremely mo. Well, it's the same thing, just it's the same thing pretty much. 1 in 6 Gen Zs are LGBT, and this number could continue to grow. So Esau knows if his society continues to go on, effectively, you're gonna reach a point where 90% of people, identify as most in this society. I don't know about the other countries, because I'm specifically from Ghana, and them Hamites, they don't play that, So Esau's a freak, man, a pure freak. Ecclesiasticus 10:2. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, so are all they that dwell therein. And the reason why this society is full of freaks is because these so-called elites, these people who run the so-called society, and when I say run, I use that term loosely, they're a bunch of freaks themselves. When you look into movies such as Eyes Wide Shut, and you look into certain documentaries, you will inevitably come to the conclusion that these people are a bunch of freakazoids. So they create a society where they're comfortable. You're going to create what you see as normal, what you believe in. If you have a child and you believe in the Lord, you're going to raise your child up to believe in the Lord. If you have a child and you believe in Saturnalia, you're going to raise your child to believe in that. So effectively, these people are, parents to these people in this society, and they've raised them up to be reprobates, because these people follow after these so-called leaders, like children pretty much, because they don't even have enough brain power to even think for themselves. Now, I brought up the scripture before. This is Proverbs 20:11. Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right. So if a child is good by what he does. You give him a sweet, does he say thank you? Does he regard his elders with suffixes? You have a child, and this child is coming up to you and calling you by your first name. Even the other day, I do delivery work. I delivered something to a house the other day, and there was this little, it looked to be a Jake woman, and her son was at home. And I delivered the stuff, and he was like, "Thank you, sir." And I was like, "God damn!" I was like, "This guy, this little child, he's respectful. A lot of the times when you go there, these little kids, they don't say thank you or nothing like that. Not only did he say thank you, he said thank you, sir." So I was like, even though the father may not be in the house, and I don't know whether or not the father is in the house or not, the dad went home, he could have been at work, but I know there's a certain level of respect that child has. So dealing with him, if he's good. Even I had another incident where I was on the lift, and a little he seemed to be a Jake. He came in the lift, and it was like, it's just going up and down. I was like, I'm going down, and he got on. He was going up, but he got on to go down to go back up. And even the fact that he asked, "Is it going down?" I knew he had a little bit of wits about him. I was like, "Hey, you're pretty sharp." And he's like, he was a bit reserved because he's probably taught not to speak to strangers. But I could tell he had a good spirit about him as well. So even when you deal with these children, you know what children are right and what children are wrong. Because I deal with certain children, and I be around certain children, and I know they're little demons, man. You could just see their little demons. This is Genesis 4:7. If thou doest well, thou shalt not be. Let me. This is Genesis 4. I'm gonna start 4. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth. He was very angry, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? Why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, thou shalt not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So the Lord effectively said, if you do right, I'm going to accept you. And, Esau wants to replace Jake, but, the Lord has put such a reprobate spirit on him that instead of him doing right, he basically wants to be a reprobate and get Jake to go off so he can then come and say to the Lord, you might as well deal with. I honestly, I don't know what Esau's thinking, but the Lord pretty much said, if you do right, I'm gonna accept you, and Esau can't get that through his thick little head that he's supposed to do right if he wants to be accepted by the Lord. But they've got such a reprobate spirit on them that they don't want to even be accepted by the Lord. They want to be accepted by who their Lord is, which is pretty much Satan, for lack of a better name, So the Lord put such a demonic spirit on this man that he doesn't even want to do right. And that's a very scary thing. In the scriptures talk about, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hand of the living power. And this is when I had to Google this, and it says CDC recommends sexually active gay and bisexual men to get tested for HIV at least once a year, syphilis, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, based on risk factors, chlamydia and gonorrhea of the, well, you know what that word is. If you've had a receptive, you know what that word is, has been a bottom, which effectively means you're the one receiving. As it says, gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men often get other STDs, including chlamydia, gonorrhea infections, HPV, human papillomavirus. It says overall homosexual men were significantly more likely than heterosexual men to have gonorrhea, 30.31% to 19.81%. So effectively, you know, so one fifth of straight men have sexually transmitted diseases, as opposed to pretty much one third of males. And the reason why that happens is because the Lord is pretty. When you go off, the Lord punishes you for going off. If you did, the reason why Jake died, the reason why there's death, in this world is because we've sinned. And for you to be doing this kind of thing, the Lord has pretty much put plagues on these kind of people, which is why there's so much STDs in that certain community, because they're doing things they're not supposed to. It's not, it's you're not supposed to do that, which is why you have all these issues coming out of it. When you go by the law, statutes, and commandments, you really, you won't have no problems. You have problems by going off. So these people, the Lord has plagued them. And this is Deuteronomy 21:20. Let's see. I'm gonna start at 20. And they shall say unto the elders of the city, this is if your child is going off. This is our son, is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shalt thou put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, he shall be to be put to death, and thou shalt hang him on a tree, and his body shall not remain all night upon a tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. So when you're going off and you're doing certain behaviors, you're pretty much you're meant to be out of here. And the Lord understood this. This is a very hard thing for people to take, but you have to understand that when you're saying baby boomers, 77% identify as being straight, and Generation Z, pretty much 40-50% identify as being males or asexual or not. It shows you that spirit is contagious, because spirits jump onto other people depending on how weak you are. So the Lord effectively said, if you have somebody who's a reprobate in your society, you're supposed to get rid of them. And this society allows these people to walk around like it's okay. So these little dirty demonic spirits that's on these people jump to other people, because it's wrong. And effectively, you're basically saying, if there's 100 people and one person, is doing something he's not supposed to do, we're not going to kill that one person. He's a murderer, but we're not going to kill him. But that one person goes on to kill 10 people, But if you killed that one person, you would have saved 9 people or 10 people. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it was like, Esau was such a reprobate. He doesn't even understand that what you're doing is so against reason that you're defeating the purpose of what you're doing. Even in this society, you have something called a no molestation order, where women can basically effectively lie and say, a man's done this and that to me, and this man can't go see his children because you have effectively a restraining order. And they do this to protect that one woman out of 1,000 who really is at risk of being hurt. But by you doing that, you're destroying 999 lives. Out all those 1,000 men, you might have 10 men that take their life, because some of these men are weak out here. They might kill themselves because they can't deal with they have separation anxiety because they can't see their children. So you're destroying all these men's lives to save that one woman. You saved that one woman, but by you doing that, 4 or 5 men might have killed themselves. But Esau was a reprobate. And when I was thinking about it, I looked into this. This is gangrene. It says gangrene is a serious condition where a loss of blood supply causes body tissue to die. It can affect any part of the body, but typically starts in the toes, feet, fingers, and hands. Gangrene can occur as a result of an injury, infection, or long-term condition that affects blood circulation. As gangrene is a definition. Localized death and decomposition of body tissue resulting from obstructed circulation or bacterial infection become affected with gangrene. Yeah. Let's see this. Is, and the reason why I bring this out, because effectively when you have gangrene, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to cut it away so it doesn't affect other parts of the body. When you have reprobates in society, when you have murderers, when you have these little kiddie fiddlers and stuff like that, these moles, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to root them out so they don't affect other members of the society, because if you allow them to carry on, they're going to affect other members and then the whole body dies. But Esau Esau knows what it is, but he's such a reprobate, he doesn't care. Which just shows you this guy is like he's like anti-life, If you watch you've got these Marvel, DC, specifically DC. You have somebody called Thanos. I don't know if the brothers know about him, but he's always looking for the anti-life equation. It is funny because that's the spirit that Esau's in. He literally has an anti-life theory. Everything he does is anti-life. Esau will have gangrene and he'll say, well, you know what, we have to accept everybody's people. We have to be accepting of other this, other that, even though he really don't believe that. But he says that, and when it suits him, he goes along with that, and he allows these infections to infect other people. So this is why the Lord has to get rid of him, because Esau is basically a virus, man. Esau is a gangrene. You know what I mean? Esau is that's what I might name this lesson. Esau's a gangrene, and he has to be cut off so that other people can live. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Jemus who were well. Shalom to the hopeful elect.